Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Cam Hogan Experience. Today, I want to talk about how I'm finally able to be social again. Now, what do I mean by that? Aren't you normally just a social human being? Don't you host communities? Don't you do these things? Like, aren't you really social? Yes and no. This episode was prompted by actually this morning in our great morning call. One of our veterans of the practice, Adam, asked about a gratitude that I gave at the beginning of the call before they went out into breaker rooms, did their own routine. And the gratitude that I had was, I'm just grateful that I can be social again. And so at the end of the call, when we're all given highlights, he asked, what did you mean by, you can finally be social again? And I thought for a second, I'm like, should I really go into what I actually mean by that? And I'm like, yeah, I will. And then after having that experience, I'm like, let me step in front of camera and make this into a Cam Ho Experience episode, because this has been a huge part of my life experience the past, I guess, decade of my life, but especially the past handful of months and years. So many of you that have been watching me for quite a while know that I have very unique spiritual gifts and sensitivities. And that also means psychic abilities. I am hyper sensitive to energy the energy of other people, to the energy of environments as a whole. And for most of the past decade, I was unconscious that I was different from others. And very recently has it actually become conscious for me to realize, oh my gosh, so these psychic abilities that I have that allow for me to see the energy of someone and immediately know what are their blockages, what are the dis-ease of energy flowing through their body that manifests in their life being harder than it needs to be. That same gift, that same hypersensitivity needed for that gift also has a consequence, if you want to see it as so, a byproduct of being hypersensitive to all that is kind of the modern human experience. So what I mean by that is it's been very difficult for me, especially over the past 2 years since these gifts have been heightened and become more advanced. It's been very difficult for me to even step foot into a Walmart, into a Home Depot. Definitely, some type of bar or casino. It just, I don't know what it was, but these places, they're very dense. They're filled with a lot of people, oftentimes not partaking in the greatest things. Of course, like a Home Depot is different from a casino or something like that, but they're all quite similar actually. And the energies of those around me, not just the people, but the vibration of the actions being done and the way that environment is set up, it made my entire being, starting with my nervous system, become immensely taxed and overwhelmed. So again, I am immensely grateful for these spiritual gifts. But just like everything, it can be a double-edged sword if I'm someone who wants to participate in the modern human experience of, going to restaurants and going to the home repair store and then going to the bar with friends or going to a basketball game, whatever it is. That's been a lot more difficult for me recently. And now that I'm really thinking about it, I think this is something I've actually had my entire life. But because the gifts weren't as developed as they are now, the consequences weren't as extreme when I was a child. So when I was younger, it wouldn't be that big of a deal for me to go to a restaurant, a lot of people there, or a lot of voices, a lot of energy, whatever it is. But it would be a big deal for me to go to like a basketball game, right? I love basketball, I love sports. I would go to college basketball games, NBA games when I was younger, thankfully. But I remember I didn't know why I didn't really have the conscious knowing the time that I was doing this, but when I'd be at home watching the games, I'd be like cheerful, I'd be excited. If it's a bad play, like, oh, come on. If it's a great play, I'm like, oh yeah, it's awesome. Whatever it was. But when I would go to the actual game, I would just be mute, and I would be no emotion, and just look. If you're watching this on video, I'll do it right now. I'll just be like, there could have been a game-winning three-pointer, dunk, block. I just be like, stale face, no reaction at all. And what I now realize is what I was doing was, in that arena, there's thousands of people, all with very different types of emotions going on. Some are like, woo! Some are like, oh, I can't believe. They're all going crazy, right? Just how it should. That's what it's created for. But now I realize, like, that's a lot of energy. And when you are made the way I've been made, it can be very difficult to exist in that environment. So this wasn't really conscious to me up until very recently. This was happening to me a lot as a child. And especially around 15, when these psychic abilities began to advance. Again, this was all very unconscious to me up until a few years ago. As this was happening, I just knew that I'd be hypersensitive to my environment. I would, for some reason, know what's going on into my classmates and teachers' lives without them ever telling me. I can see and feel their energy and it's like I'd feel their energy, and then imagine like the back of your head, left side, there's this voice that comes in and tells you what it is they're going through in their life. And oftentimes it's the deepest, darkest things. It was never like, oh, they're having a great day. It was always like, their father's being abusive, or, it would go down that route quite a bit. That was very difficult for me, as you can imagine, especially if I'm not knowing, not really wanting this information, not really needing this information, not really knowing what this is coming from, if this is valid, if this is true, and also why is this happening. So these gifts continued for quite a while. And then come college time, what I now look at it as, I've explained this and shared this publicly for quite a while, but definitely had some type of binge eating disorder. Was drinking more than I would have liked to. Maybe not the average amount that a normal college kid does, but still more than I would like to, more than I was used to. Taking a lot of cannabis in a way that was pretty much to distract myself. And now when I look at it, I realize what I was trying to do is numb and sedate myself from being so hypersensitive to the environments. Because especially in college, especially, in living in Nevada and Reno, there was a lot of people that age deeply depressed, deeply anxious, fearful, trying to, impress others at whatever form necessary, very insecure. And I was also all these things, but I can feel it deeply in others to a level that it was hard to be around them. But I realized a few more drinks, a few more orders of Domino's pizza, I could kind of stuff and sedate and shut down the antenna that was picking up on all this energy. So yeah, I just did that for quite a while. And I always had some type of coping mechanism to help me just feel normal, honestly, to help me be able to go to a bar and hang out with friends, be around people. Because these gifts, especially around the people I was at that time, I couldn't, number one, be really aware of them. And number two, I couldn't give them the lifestyle treatment they deserve, because that just isn't how college is. It isn't how life is. So I'm like, I'd rather, kind of be sad and know something's wrong, but I don't really know what it is. I'd rather be like that and be around people than be lonely. So that was big for me for quite a while, and that's a huge learning lesson for me to learn. Yeah. And then when I went to Bali, I think the hypersensitivity definitely increased when I was able to create more of my own environment, had my own villa, Didn't really leave the house that much, talked to very few people, had a very similar routine every single day, a lot of solitude, a lot of quiet. And I remember this one time in Bali where, you live in a life where, which I feel is more of the human experience than what we're used to in this modern world where, and I mean like legit human experience, like what we've been doing for thousands, if not millions of years. The, constantly being in nature. I lived in a hut pretty close to the beach in the jungle, pretty much. My life was more natural than this artificial life. I remember there's this one time though where on the island of Bali, there's also just like a normal mall with, a huge building with a bunch of huge stores with these, glass windows and people, selling you perfume or whatever it is. I remember going from within, 15 minutes, the jungle to getting on a moped and driving to the mall. And the moment I step in the mall, I would have like these, what I now see is almost like panic attacks. My nervous system would be like, what's going on? What's going on? Like I couldn't take it. But in my mind is like, you've been going to malls your entire life. What's wrong? Is there a certain person or what's going on? And so that was difficult for me to understand. But I just kind of did my best to, get through it. I remember my girlfriend at the time, I think she'd realized that I'd be in the mall, and I think a good word for it would be like a bit queasy. It was like, oh, what's going on? And she would always do her best to comfort me, and she didn't really understand what's going on. But yeah, that was definitely unique. And when you're unconscious to the actual reality that is that, it really messes with you because you're like, why can't I just be normal? Why can't I just do normal people things? So yeah, thankfully at that point in my life, I realized like, I don't know what's going on here, but I know there are certain things in my life I don't want to continue doing. And so those things were drinking, those things were partying, those things were being around negative people, those things were putting myself around a large group of people, bars, casinos, all that, just staying away from completely. But I noticed I became just more sensitive to things. And that has been a rapid, I guess we can call it an evolution of my sensitivities to where, especially when moving to Austin, and especially creating even a better environment that's more conducive for quiet, peace, creativity, all that is, that really helps these sensitivities expand. There was this season for the past, I'd say, year and a half, 2 years, where it'd be very difficult for me to walk into a Home Depot, a Walmart, especially, step foot towards a bar or any just loud restaurant. Very difficult for me to do. And this isn't, that great, because when I'm a man, I'm like, why can't I just step foot in Home Depot and buy, a freaking ladder or some little trinkets, whatever, for the house that we just bought? Like, why can't I just do these simple things? Why do I feel like I'm having a panic attack every single time I step foot into Walmart to buy whatever? So like, it was so odd. And I was quite angry at myself because still being unconscious to what's actually going on, it's very difficult. It's like, why can't it just be normal? And so, yeah, that was rough. And it wasn't just being around a lot of people or certain environments. It was just people in general for a while. I have some very high vibe, great friends that are completely respectful, that aren't like, doing anything that would flare the system up. But for some reason, even just people outside of me and L, I'd go back into that sensitivity. It's like I could, without me turning it on and off like a switch, imagine it's just permanently on and you're just blind to the light switch. So I'd just be talking to friends and I'm like, oh crap, okay. That voice is coming through. I sense their body. They're saying this one thing, but I know they don't actually mean that. They're feeling this, and they're actually wanting to say this, but they're not able to say that because they don't know what we'd say if they said that. It's like my ability to do what I would call like soul surgery on them would just come up to everyone, with everyone. And so that's difficult to be around because all I want to do is just be present with them. All I want to do is just be a friend. I don't need to be this hypersensitive tool to help them understand how to heal. Like, I don't want to be that for everyone. Now, it was very beneficial for the paid clients. Thankfully, I had the courage to better understand what was going on and create a business around it and utilize it to the utmost extent that I can to serve others, and still will for probably the rest of my life. But it was difficult just to hang out with people. And it really messed with my life for quite a while. But thankfully, now I feel as if I have gone through this training period where the same voice that tells me about those other people that come from the back of my head, like I've explained before, that same voice has really began to guide me over the past few months on how to better maneuver this world, where I feel much more grounded, much more at peace, and my nervous system is ready to handle any environment I so choose. And so I'm not saying that I'm ready to go to like 40 different NBA games, playoff games, which is so loud. Like, probably not ready for that yet, but me just hanging out with people I love, with people I want to get to know, me being able to go to Home Depot, me being able to do all those things are much, much, much better. And that's a game changer. I can finally be social again. Yeah, which is huge. Very, very huge. I was contemplating about bringing this up, but I will. Every time I contemplate about something, I probably should do it. You know, what I have been experiencing partially is just me and my thing and not something that everyone will experience. But there is, in some way, other people have the chance, if they so please, to heighten their own sensitivity. Now, after listening to all this, you may not want to do that, but I promise you, like, that sensitivity, at least for me, has been worth it. I'll sign that contract every single day for the life it has brought me. The discernment I now have, the intuitive abilities I now have to guide my own life to a life that I deeply, deeply enjoy. It literally feels like heaven on earth right now. Oh man, it's so worth it. It's so, so worth it. But every time I reflect on this, what comes through to me, and I say come through for a reason, because it is coming through to me, is that it's important for other people to understand that although I'm quote unquote different and I'm experiencing this before most can, the far, far majority of people, especially those watching this, have the capabilities to evolve their own inner intuition, their own inner sensitivities that would lead to more discernment in life, that when integrated and embodied will lead you on the path to the highest version of yourself. And we live in a society that is built on doing everything possible to make sure that humans don't get to the point where they have this level of inner knowing. That's why the food is poison. The media makes you fear and sad and shameful and hate. So much around us is intended to sedate us, intended to numb us from experiencing this level of knowing, experiencing these hypersensitivities that have actually always been part of the human experience, but we've just been cut off from experiencing them. So this is what I mean by this. Let me make this very, very tangible. Hypothetically, if one were to, just like myself, have a period of time like, you know what, I'm going to do another challenge for myself, whatever it is, self-improvement, spiritual challenge, whatever it is. And you were to, and you can do this from a place that is sustainable and come from love, you can quit all alcohol, drugs altogether, especially prescription drugs, no artificial food, no fast food, no preservatives, no anything, just clean, real, organic food, high quality water that doesn't have, all the toxins they put into it. You have a not low, but no media diet. You allow very little amounts of inputs into your mind on a daily basis. You have more time in nature. You have more feet on the grass, grounding, discharging energy from your body, stored energy from your body. More time in the sun. Very, very hypercognizant of the people you allow into your life and what they're saying to you. And then you continue to have a practice that allows for reflection and solitude on your own habits, behavior, and actions. You do those things. There's probably multiple. I can make a list of 25 things if necessary, but those are the big ones. If you do that, I promise you, you'll begin to feel more like yourself. Your antenna that we all have will be cleansed. And that antenna can be used to better have an intuitive ability or discernment towards what it is you're actually capable of. Feels right for me to throw this last one on that list. Coffee. And a lot of people are going to like this. Any stimulant or depressant, toss out. They're altering your natural state. So even that one. These things are artificially put into our lives to stop us from having the natural human experience, because when one understands actual human experience, they become immensely powerful. And they're not someone who listens blindly to the wantings of others. So the more I've done those habits and practices, the more sensitive I've become. And thankfully lately, like I've shared, and I'll probably honestly have to make a course out of this, because there's a lot more people that are about to go down this route who may not have the same abilities that I have, but more than likely something very similar. Although I do believe I'm very special, I'm here for a very specific reason. The far majority of who I am is just part of being human that everyone has access to. So all the things that were made in a way that isn't best for us, I have a sensitivity towards. And thankfully, I've been trained over the past few months in particular to now really feel grounded and centered wherever I go. So whether it's walking to Home Depot or walking into a bar or a casino or being around like legit homeless people or depressed people or whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect me as much anymore. But I can still see the energy very clearly. I just do not take it on. And that, oh man, like life is about to move very fast. Very, very fast because of that. I immediately know the right answer to every decision, at least for me, and what's best for me. I know immediately, is this person here to help or here to take away? Is this person the right person to go into business with? Is this person the right person to be my friend? Is this the person who's the right person to marry? All these things it's no longer a decision of the mind where we contemplate it for minutes, hours, days, decades. It's an immediate knowing within. The other decision maker, our gut, our intuition, our second brain, takes over the steering wheel in the driver's seat of the car that moves us, of our being, and life just moves immensely fast. And you move towards a place that legit, and a vibration, legit feels like heaven on earth, in a way that I'll spend the rest of my life trying to portray. But all that being said, I feel like I just went on a tangent of exactly what it is, but these sensitivities, it's not a curse. It really does feel like a blessing. It's part of becoming more human. The most artificial environments are going to feel more artificial. And that's completely okay. And thankfully, I've now realized that I can find a way to live in both worlds, to be very tapped in and very spiritual, and to be utilized as an instrument to help people, as a tool with my gifts, whatever it is, to help people, but also just have fun and enjoy my life and live in this world where I can go to a restaurant and not have a panic attack. That would be nice. That would be really nice. And nervous system flare up, whatever it was. So yeah, I can finally be social again, which is awesome. I'm going to have my members of True Brotherhood that live here in Austin. I'm having them over this week for an NBA Finals watch party. Who's at my house, have some pizza, have a good time, which is something I've wanted to do for so long, but just literally could not have done it. So yes, this is a unique one. This is a very much a Cam Hogan experience type episode where I'm showing you what I've been experiencing recently, and thankfully the immense growth that's taken place in these areas that have made me just feel so unlocked, so free to just live and be and make the impact I want to make in the world fully without fearing anything or anyone. So yeah, just immensely grateful for life right now. I'm immensely grateful for you guys who are watching this. Whatever channel you watch this on, YouTube, Spotify, whatever it may be, please go ahead and like, please subscribe, please follow. Let's get this to as many people as possible, to everyone who's ready to see it, hear it, and feel it. Thank you all so much. I'll see you soon. Love y'all.